Welcome back to another live feed on Shaman's YouTube channel. This is the top 10 now of the greatest groups in hip hop. Top 10 greatest groups in hip hop. We're back. So now we get into the top 10. Now it's going to get more interesting, more interesting, man. Because now, when you get to that top 10, man, it's going to be even more fascinating. I got the Wu-Tang Clan as one of my, still to this day, I know I wrote this book a decade ago. I think they are a top 10 group in the history of, the genre of rap. I think the things that they did was definitely pioneering. I think they deserve to be in the top 10. Wu-Tang Clan definitely represented, man. They definitely was different than what was out at the time. Wu-Tang Clan. So let's get into it, man. Number 10. The 10th greatest group of all time is the Wu-Tang Clan. Clan in the front. Wu-Tang Clan emerged in the hip-hop scene in 1992. The uncompromising style that was never seen before in the annals of hip-hop. It's the facts. They came up with this kung fu imagery. Now, the 5% philosophy was already there. Rakim, Kane, a lot of rappers into that 5% Nation of Islam stuff. So that was nothing unique about that. They're just part of it. But I think the kung fu imagery and the things that their sound was made them different. And they formed like Voltron, Unified, got 9 guys in the group. I don't think you had that in any other group historically. So the group came out with Staten Island, they would change to Shaolin Island because of the kung fu influence. RZA, Jizza, Method Man, Raekwon, Ghostface, Killer, Inspector Deck, You Got, Master Killer, Old Dirty Bastard. Protect Your Net was the first salvo of the song in terms of the direction the group was going in. Obviously 36 Chambers Into the Wu-Tang was a classic album, was a tone setter. And the title of the album, Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, actually came from a martial arts movie that came out in 1978 called The 36 Chamber of Shaolin. Again, the influence of the martial arts definitely was part of their makeup. Then the RZA, great as he was, man, revolutionary with his beats, different, unique, heavy, eerie sound, using martial arts movie, including soul music samples. I'm saying the album will become the resurgence, or that resurgence of the East Coast Renaissance. I remember this vividly, being in high school at the time, man. When they came up with that first album, it was different. With the Black Moon, it's the stage album. They were the ones that set the tone for the East Coast to be revived again. It was Black Moon first, then it was Wu-Tang Clan. That's why I put Black Moon in my top 15 greatest groups. Because I think when you're a great group, you set a tone, you bring something different to the table, you revive something that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Black Moon was part of that. Then here comes Wu-Tang Clan, they bring it back, the East back. Before Nas and Biggie brought it back, it was Black Moon and Wu-Tang Clan first. In random order when you look at it, So that album dropped on November 9th, 1993. Songs like Method Man, Can It All Be So Simple? And the song that definitely defined the group without questions, Cash Rules, Everything Around Me, Cream. They invented that term, cream. Everybody was using that in their lyrics, in their rhymes. I got to get this cream. It's the same thing. Copying off somebody else, mimicking their slang, their style. Cash Rules, Everything Around Me. That was different. That was a slang term for money. That was after that other rap artists would use in years to come. So that shows that's why they in the top 10. 36 Chambers having 9 members and number 9 from the 5% philosophy, bringing everything into existence. That's what they believed in. The 4 chambers of the heart, 36 chambers in total. The album cover was unique. The members covered their face with masks. You know what I'm saying? The album go gold 2 years later. You know what I'm saying? They were just different, man. They set a template with their lyrics. Everything that they did was different. This is the best moment in their careers, man. They had a lot of great success with their solo albums, solo deals with the record companies and all that stuff. But they were great as a group, separate all together. I'm saying they had solo record deals that was unprecedented with different labels. They had that model, and that's what it's about. They reinvented how hip hop was structured as a business model. So, and also the RZA, his production style, very influential. Listen to Ninth Wonder, listen to Kanye West, Just Blaze, even the production on the 2 Mobb Deep albums. The infamous and Hell on Earth. You can make case it came from that influence, make a case, you know. So that's why they one of the greats stay in the top 10. That's why I put them there. Let's expand more on why they are one of the greatest. One of the greatest. First and foremost, the sound, the business, and the scope of this group. The nine-member collective, the gritty beats, the kung fu samples. That's something that you didn't see at that time. No, a kung fu movie being sampled in music, you know what I'm saying? Their lyrics. But they did, you know, being on multiple record labels. That's greatness right there. The unique sound that they had, the masterful production that they had. You know, Into the Wu-Tang Clan was one of the more important albums ever made because it set a template, changed the trajectory of East Coast hip hop. The sampling of the soul sampling, all along with the movie dialogue from martial arts movie, the dark, gritty, cinematic soundscape that defined that mystique of Wu-Tang Clan. That's what made them one of the all-time greats. That's why they're in the top 10. Easy. Talk about groups, because that's something that you don't see today. In today's rap climate, there's no such thing as rap groups. I don't think there's a rap group out right now. That's why when I came out with this book a decade ago, I wanted to pay homage to something that was of a dying breed, that was fading. Rap groups were fading. There's no such thing as rap groups. There's no such thing as rap groups right now. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. I may be lost in that, but there was such thing as rap groups when rap groups were dominating the landscape of rap. And that's why I put the list together, and I had to know the information to back up who I felt was in the top 50. So Wu-Tang Clan is definitely a top 10 group. You look at their business model, the stuff they did, having record contracts by themselves, sold from some solo deals with different labels. That's something that was unheard of. You know, Raekwon's own Bill for Cuban Links, Liquid Swords, Let That Man Stick Out. You put, you know, also Ghostface albums, you know, Iron Man, Supreme Clientele, one of them, you could put that in there. But then you look at the unmatched lyrical talent, man, that they had. That song, Triumph, that's a great song. Now, Wu-Tang Forever, that was not a classic. I don't think that was, better than that first one. That song, Triumph, was a great album, great song. Because that was a masterclass of non-MCs rapping, trained verses without the chorus. They said it was different. They sounded like themselves. They didn't sound like anybody else. You couldn't say, okay, Raekwon sounded like this person. Method Man sounded like this person. They had their own style of what they were doing. They were different. Wu-Wear, clothing line. I think Naughty by Nature had their own clothing line. We double check before Wu-Tang Clan. I think Naughty by Nature had their own clothing line first. But Wu-Tang took it to the next level. But clothing line, you gotta go back to Naughty by Nature. I think it may have been the first. Had their own clothing line. Let's see before I close out. Clothing line. Was it the first? It was not the first. Okay, they were pioneers. Yeah, Naughty Gear in New Jersey. Okay, Beastie Boys and Run DMC were the first groups to have their own clothing, merchandise. Beastie Boys. Yeah, they did in 91. Okay, Naughty Gear, that was in 92. Okay, well, again, before the Wu-Tang Clan, there was Naughty by Nature, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, doing their own thing. Okay, that was merchandise. All right, so that's it, man. I'm done, man. Why? The Wu-Tang Clan was one of the greatest groups of all time. I got them in the top 10, man. There's no debate. They won all-time greats. Self-explanatory. To it. They changed the game. They certified one of the greatest groups ever. So that's it. So I come back at 2 o'clock with number 9, the 9th greatest group of all time. Stay tuned.